Hello all. I'm continuing my series of videos on obscure cult science fiction films of the 1980s. And one of the strangest that I've ever seen is Vicious Lips, directed by Albert Pyun, who was a famous schlockmeister who kind of fashioned himself after Roger Corman. In fact, in this movie, he even uses a spaceship that was from a Roger Corman movie. And I'll explain that a little bit. Vicious Lips is a very strange, very interesting, but kind of dumb movie. Uh, it's about a all-girl rock band on another planet somewhere, and they're not doing very well. They got this kind of sleazy manager. Oh, it stars Drew Ann Perry, Gina Calabrese, and Tony Kynes principally. And Tony Kynes is their manager, who's kind of a sleazebag, Marty, and one of the first scenes we see is he's in an alleyway and he's getting beaten up by his lead singer, played by Drew Ann Perry, named Ace Logan, and she quits the band, and then off screen she's killed in a car accident. So now he's stuck. He has to find a replacement. He doesn't know what to do. Sees a flyer in the gutter, literally, for a high school music talent show. He goes to this talent show and he sees a girl called, I kid you not, Judy Jetson, who is also played by Drew Ann Perry, just with a different hairstyle. He likes her song, and he recruits her to be the new lead singer of the band. He's even going to give her the same name as the character who got killed in the car crash, Ace Logan, because all the posters have already been printed up and they have her name on it. The rest of the band kind of resents that, and they resent the girl too. But he rather miraculously gets them a gig at this very prestigious rock club called Maxine's Radioactive Dream. That's an in-joke by Pyun, reference to his second movie called Radioactive Dreams, which I'll do a separate review of. That's a kind of crazy movie too, which also has something of a cult following. Pyun, by the way, also did the 1991 Captain America movie. He did the movie Alien in LA with Kathy Ireland, who could not act her way out of a paper bag, but looks fantastic. And Doll Man with Tim Thomerson, the Nemesis series, which also had Tim Thomerson, and also a woman body wrestler who I can't remember her name, but she's pretty good looking. Sue Lyon, I think, is her name. And a lot of other things like, martial arts movies and surf movies. Basically, he'd do anything to make money, just like Roger Corman in some ways. As long as it was cheap and he could produce it, inexpensively, he'd do it. So anyway, these girls are now have to go across the galaxy to get this gig at Maxine's Radioactive Dream, a very prestigious rock club. And anybody who plays there, basically their career is made. So they hitchhike on this Maddie steals a spaceship, which is started by regular car keys. I found that really funny. And, nobody's watching it, so he just jumps in, unaware of the fact that there's a psychotic killer in the cargo hold, kept only restrained by a force field, which one of the pilots jokes, he's fine unless the ship crashes, ha ha ha. Well, guess what? With that kind of foreshadowing, you know what's going to happen. Maddie's not paying attention. He's looking at a star chart, trying to figure out where they're going. He's not paying attention to his warning computer, which keeps telling him something's coming. And finally it says, there's a big-ass rock coming right at you. He looks out the view screen and sees this huge meteorite headed right at him. He can't avoid it now, and it hits them, and they go crashing down on this desert planet. The girls, don't know none of the girls are hurt, but they tell him, you need to go out there. And Judy Jetson starts having these visions. She sees somebody out in the sand, and it looks like her. And every time she brings somebody else, they can't see it. It vanishes. So they think she's making it up. The rest of the band doesn't really like her anyway, particularly Gina Calabrese doesn't like her and is, thinks she's conspiring to stab them in the back, because she mentions that another band who's one of their rivals is looking for a lead singer, and Judy writes it down on a napkin to contact that band, and somehow the other girls find it, and they're saying, hey, what are you doing? You planning to sell us out? Kind of thing. They don't think her voice is as good as Ace Logan, and that she shouldn't take the name, and they're all kind of grousing and griping. But they convince Maddie, hey, you got to go out there. You're the man. You got to go out and get us help because the crash has destroyed their communication equipment, so they can't let Maxine know that they might be late because the spaceship crashed on this remote planet. Um, so he goes out and he's sweating and dying, and he starts seeing what are probably hallucinations. These sort of space hookers who are leading him on. They're dressed very scantily, and um, they start making love to him, and he's like, obviously starting to go mad. Then the girls hear the force field that's containing the psychotic killer is destroyed by the crash as they start hearing the killer in the cargo hold. But none of them is quite dumb enough to open the door to let it out. But the killer figures out eventually that there's a hole in the floor, and he can go, that was made by the crash, and he can go through it. The spaceship, by the way, that crashes is, as I mentioned, a leftover model kit that was used in Roger Corman's Galaxy of Terror. It was also used in the opening credits of the 1984, I believe it was, version of Not of This Earth with Tracy Lords. Just over the opening credits. Anyway, they repainted it, I think, red in this case. It's the same model kit, and it looks like a model kit, and the inside of it looks like somebody's garage. I mean, this thing had like a budget that looks like it was about 15 cents. It's really really bad, really, crappy special effects, but you kind of buy it because, it's supposed to be kind of a crappy spaceship. And he stole it anyway, so you're figuring it's not top of the line. Eventually, he doesn't come back, and Judy decides, I got to go out there and find out what's going on because where's Maddie? And she goes out and is almost immediately assaulted by the killer, who starts chasing her through this sort of strange place. It's called I think Paradise Planet. That's basically just a bunch of plastic curtains. It looks like something out of the pit sequence in Buckaroo Banzai, only even worse. And she's just like running through corridors, and they're, knocking over cardboard boxes, and this thing's running after her, like a ridiculous monster. She runs into like these cannibals who want to kill her and eat her. And she also runs into the spirit of Ace Logan, who wants her name back and is threatening her at knife point. She's saying, no, take your name back. I don't want it. I don't want it. And all of a sudden, in a typical kind of twist from one of these movies, it turns out it's all a dream. And it says, dream over. And she wakes up in the radioactive dream, Maxine's radioactive dream. And her subaltern, who's the same as the monster in the movie, but he's actually rather sophisticated, and he's wearing a tuxedo, she says, what happened? He says, you fainted. She says, why? Why are you so ugly? He says, well, so are you. To him, he's a monster-looking creature, but to him, she's the ugly one. They get the gig, obviously, at Radioactive Dream, and they play a song called Lunar Madness, which is not sung by them. It's sung by LA punk rocker Sue Sad and the Last, I think is what the name of her band. They actually had an album called Radioactive Dream. She sings most of the songs, but not all of them. There are some good songs. There are some interesting songs. The only memorable ones I recall are Lunar Madness, and the last song that plays over the end credits called Lips on the Moon, which is interesting because they never go to the moon, but it's obviously about the band. I think the name is probably a little bit of a tribute to the late Sid Vicious. It's a strange movie. It's fun. It's funny. It's dumb. I can't really recommend it, but, it's not something that I'm going to want to watch over and over again, like the Rocky Horror Picture Show or Phantom of the Paradise or Repo Man or Buckaroo Banzai, but it's interesting to watch, maybe once. So there it is. It has only a 16% approval rating on Rotten Tomatoes, so that should tell you all you need to know.